doctor's son, got the doctor and the wife gone one day, and there was a room in the house that we were never let into. We figured there must be some desperate stuff in there. So we decided to break in. And we broke in and we found a book, found loads and loads of books, you know, with sexy pictures if you like, right? But we weren't interested in that. We found a book that was brought back by Dr. Margaret, an old doctor from Cork who was a doctor in the trenches. And he'd made a photo book, a medical reference book on traumatic injuries, right? So it's a medical study. But there was 3 pictures in it that neither myself nor this other young fella have ever forgotten. And one of them was a trench. Now a trench was about 8 foot deep and 4 to 5 foot wide. A big trench. And it was 3 pictures of the sun rising on the morning of the Battle of Loos and shining on the trenches. And on the top level, the trenches were full of young fellas, right up to the top, maybe 6 or 7 feet, young fellas of 16 or 17. And their faces were just as fresh as girls, and their eyes were all open, and they were staring vacantly at the clouds. And I never saw that description in any, you know, book about the war or anything like that until I read McGill's The Great Bush. He talks about this, just the awful death of young fellas. And I got the book and I was reading it, and when I was reading the book then, 3 chapters of the book were written in the first person on the night before and the night after the battle. And they're not as well written as the other parts of the book. And there's no artifice in them at all. And of course the reason there isn't is because when he wrote them, he expected to get killed in a couple of hours. And nothing makes you as pure and honest, I reckon, as the prospect of imminent death. And I just thought that the words that he uses held an awful lot of traction and emotional power. And yeah, now Patrick McGill himself, he was a Tatey picker in Scotland. He went to school until he was 12. He became a kind of a navvy poet in the building sites in Scotland. And in 1913, he wrote a book called The Children of the Dead End. And it was the first book ever to be written about poverty by somebody that was actually poor. He was a resident of the slums of Glasgow. And what he did in the book was, he showed the pathos and the humanity and the humour and the love that existed, between very poor people, and published it at a time when these people were barely considered to be human at all. And his book had the most extraordinary effect politically in England as a social work. People started to look at this whole idea of slums and inner city development and what they could do about it. And then when the war started, he decided to go off to the war and do the same thing for the ordinary soldier, because what all they were getting during most of the First World War was lists of dead people or else propaganda and Ministry for Defence stuff. But he went out and he painted this picture of soldiers as real, sensible people, and it had a real good effect. He got shot the day after on the second day of the battle on the hand, so that was his blight